Oh, thank you so much for coming. We're happy to have you here. Um, we'll give it maybe one more minute. I can see folks coming in. Maybe while we're waiting, we can introduce ourselves. So my name is Christy Harrington Tsai, and I am a counselor at DVC. I'm one of the counseling department chairs of DVC this year. Welcome.
My name is Mark Yamamoto. I'm a counselor here at DVC. I work primarily in the Career and Transfer Center.
All right, and hello everyone. My name is Tao Pham. I'm also a counselor here at Diablo Valley College, and I'm also the articulation officer at DVC. So my primary role on this campus is actually helping getting our courses from DVC to all of the 4 years and having it accepted for course-to-course articulation and general education.
And so if you are here today, we're grateful for you being here. It shows that you want to learn about transfer, you want to make sure that you're on the right track. And so we're excited to share some information with you. I'll be sharing my screen, and then Tao will be answering questions that you may have as I'm talking about things in the chat. And Mark will also be sharing some information. And then at the end, and as we go along, we'll answer questions, like common questions that we're seeing that folks are having. But along the way, we'll always be reiterating that the most important thing, if you have a specific question about your specific scenario, the most important thing is to talk to a counselor, because everybody's scenarios are different. And so we're going to be talking broadly about big changes happening at California community colleges, but we always want you to talk to a counselor.
Yes, and Christy, really quick, there was a question already in the Q&A. So I believe we are recording this, and I believe we plan to send this out to everyone who registered and is attending. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to send it out, the recording to everybody, and you can share it with any students you know or other folks who maybe wanted to come but couldn't make it today. Great question. Awesome. Okay, so share my screen. Okay, so all right, so before we begin, things to note, this is really aimed for current DVC students who are going to be continuing at DVC next year. So if you have not yet applied to transfer and you're going to be continuing at DVC next year, this is really good information for you. If you're going to transfer, you're already pretty much done if you're going to be at a new school in the fall. So today we're going to provide an overview of changes that are coming to California community colleges. And these changes are a result of two laws that were passed that you could look up if you want to see all the details, called AB 928 and AB 1111. AB stands for Assembly Bill. And as I mentioned, for specific questions about your exact education plan or your situation, definitely chat with a counselor, because every student has an individual education plan, because different schools require different things. And so based on your goal, that's how counselors create your education plan to really be specific to you. So as we mentioned, we are three counselors in the counseling department. These are some of our counselors. We have a big department, and so we would love to meet you. If you have follow-up questions afterward, we have drop-in every day. And so sometimes it can be tricky to get a counseling appointment. Those are scheduled 2 weeks out, but we have counseling drop-in every day at the counseling center, online, and at student centers across the campus at different days of the week. All right, Mark.
Okay, so this is the number of transfers that we have for this class of 23-24. As you can see, 895 students were accepted by the University of California. Of those, 819 were tag applicants, Also, we had 674 students that were accepted by Cal State universities. We also have 368 students that transferred to private or out-of-state schools. Top two in California were St. Mary's and USC. And then you can see below other schools that we send a lot of students to: Arizona State, Grand Canyon, Southern New Hampshire, and University of Hawaii. So we do assist a lot of students with their transfer process in the Career and Transfer Center. So if you are applying for transfer for fall of 2026, please get familiar with us at the Career and Transfer Center. We're going to be running a lot of workshops, especially in the fall, but we're going to run some in the summertime. So maybe get familiar with our website so you could find out what events are coming up, what workshops are coming up. But again, we're one of the top transfer schools in the state of California, and we have a lot of services to assist you through this sometimes stressful process of applying to transfer.
And I see a couple of folks asking, what is tag? What a great question. Yeah, go ahead.
Should I take that? So tag is a transfer agreement, transfer admissions guarantee that are offered by 6 UCs. So the only UCs that don't offer tag are Berkeley, UCLA, and San Diego. And the reason why they don't offer tag is because they get so many applicants that they don't really need to do the tag. But other schools, Davis, Santa Barbara, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, they offer the tag. Usually the tag application timeline is September in the fall before the following fall that you want to apply to. So for example, if you're applying for fall of 2026, you would apply for tag in September of this year.
So if you want to know more about tag, definitely come to the Career and Transfer Center, which is in
Yes.
the Student Services Center.
Also, you can get a lot of information if you Google UC Tag Matrix, UC Tag Matrix, and it'll have a lot of the requirements.
So thank you. So I wanted to just briefly cover, before we go into Cal-GETC, just what is an associate degree and how do you transfer? So in general, students need 60 units to transfer, and that's always going to be a mixture of some general education and some major preparation. Major preparation means, what do the schools want you to take before you transfer as a psychology major or as a business major? What major classes do they want you to take in psychology or business, if those are your majors, so that you're ready once you transfer to go straight into the junior and senior level classes for your major. So sometimes students come to DVC and they think, oh, I just need to do general ed only. That's not really the case. You can see general ed may be just like 50% of what you need to do. The rest is going to be major classes and then a little bit of electives if you need some electives. STEM majors, people who are majoring in engineering, sciences, they have less general ed and more major requirements because they have to do all the calculus. They have to do all this physics. So they don't need that much general ed because they have a lot of major requirements to do. So these are the general education plans that many of you may have been following. So if you started this past year in fall 2024 or any year previously, then you probably have been following IGETC, which is a general education pattern for CSUs or UCs. Or you may be following CSUGE, which is a general education pattern for just CSUs. And again, this is not if you're a STEM major. If you're like engineering major, both of these are too much general ed for you. You have to focus on math and STEM classes and meet with a counselor to determine your exact ed plan. So IGETC, CSUGE, They are general education patterns that can be completed so that once you transfer, you're guaranteed, if it's certified here, you're guaranteed you've completed all your lower division general education requirements for the most part for any UC or CSU. So Cal-GETC, you may have heard that word thrown around. That is going to be a new general education pattern. And it can be a little scary because change is hard. So we want to just really debunk, what is it? Should I switch to it? Do I need to be worried about it? So Cal-GETC is the general education pattern that will be starting fall 2025. So if you have any friends who are in high school right now and they're going to start at DVC fall 2025, they won't have a choice of IGETC or CSUGE. They are just going to start on Cal-GETC. That is the one general education pattern that would be available to folks who are starting in fall. All the California community colleges are going to have this pathway. So if you need to transfer somewhere else, you need to move to SoCal, they will have Cal-GETC too. So all of us are aligned. We're all going to have Cal-GETC. Quick facts. Cal-GETC can fulfill lower division general education requirements for transfer. It is intended to replace the current IGETC and the CSUGE, so it'll just be one option for folks. And new students starting in fall 2025 or later will only have that option. So folks like you, students who maintain continuous enrollment, if you've been attending right now, then you'll have a choice in fall. You could continue completing CSUGE or IGETC if you've been following those for general education, or you may decide, oh, Cal-GETC might be a little bit more beneficial to me. Maybe I'll switch to that in the fall. So I'm going to preview with you what Cal-GETC would look like, what are the differences going to be, so you can decide. Doesn't have to be right now. It's not fall yet, so no decisions required at this exact moment. But so you can think about it and maybe talk to a counselor if Cal-GETC will be the right decision for you. So let's see. If I can share, I made a preview document of Cal-GETC. All right, so using the IGETC sheet, I made a preview just so you could see a visual of what will be the differences of Cal-GETC. There's about 4 changes that are going to be happening. So English, critical thinking, in the oral communications area, argumentation and debate and small group communication will no longer count if somebody was starting on Cal-GETC. Cal-GETC will only show public speaking as the only oral communications option that they could use to complete that gen ed.
Christy, sorry to interrupt. Do you mind zooming in just a smidge?
Oh, yes, thank you. Is that better or more?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, thanks. I think we'll be able to send this out possibly too afterwards, so or at least a summary of it. All right, so oral communication, Cal-GETC will only accept public speaking. In arts and humanities area 3, previously people had to complete 3 classes in this area. So they would complete 1 arts, then they would complete 1 humanities, and then in this last area, it would say choose another course from arts or humanities to complete a 3rd class. Cal-GETC is taking away that 3rd requirement, so only 2 classes will be required in area 3, 1 arts and 1 humanities. In social and behavioral sciences, we at DVC have a class called Psych 130 that's Introduction to Biological Psychology. That one was previously counting in social science, but instead it's going to count as a biological science lecture class. So Psych 130 won't be a social science, it's going to count in area 5. So then we come to area 5, which is the sciences. The only change that we know of is that our Psych 130 at DVC is a lecture class that's going to be in the biological science area. And then this area 6, language other than English, the foreign language requirement, that's going to be removed. So if you had planned on your plan next year, like, oh, I need to do a foreign language to complete this, this may remove a requirement for you. So foreign language is not going to be required anymore for Cal-GETC completion. And then because of that, ethnic studies will be the new area 6. And you probably have heard folks saying that you need to take ethnic studies depending on when you started at DVC. That may or may not be true, but starting with Cal-GETC, every student needs to complete ethnic studies, no matter what, if they're completing Cal-GETC. So that is the general overview. Basically, it's a couple fewer classes. And so it could be helpful for like maybe folks who are business majors or other majors where they just have a lot of major requirements, not needing to do 3 arts and humanities, not needing to do the foreign language requirement. It could maybe save 1 or 2 classes for them. So that is the basic gist of it.
Christine, and you sort of answered this already, but just to confirm, there was a question in here asking if this means that Cal-GETC is an overall reduce in workload in comparison to CSUGE and IGETC.
Uh, what would you say? How would you answer that?
Yes. So with CSUGE, that is about 39 units overall, and IGETC was 37 units. So Cal-GETC is you have a Zoom screen that's blocking
Sorry.
your share. And it's also showing presenter mode instead of the slides. So with Cal-GETC, it is now an overall 34 units. So it is fewer units. And that is because of the change from requiring 3 courses in arts and humanities instead of 2. For UC-bound students, it does remove the requirement of language other than English, but it does add the required public speaking. That was something that all CSU-bound students had to do, but UC students didn't have to do. So there are some benefits to Cal-GETC, but there are also some things that you have to consider that you now have to do that wasn't a requirement previously for UC-bound students. But overall, it is fewer courses.
Should I switch to it? So basically, if you have catalog rights, continuous enrollment before fall 2025, if you're enrolled right now, then you can check with a counselor to assess which pattern would be best for you, which one would you be closest to completing, and what works for your degree and your transfer goals. What is continuous enrollment? I just wanted to, it's a very technical topic, but I just wanted to touch on it. So what it means is right now, because you're a DVC student right now, you have catalog rights to this catalog, the 2024-2025 school year. And so if you maintain enrollment, so you are enrolled in at least 1 course in our district each year, then you maintain those catalog rights. So you maintain the ability to still follow IGETC or CSUGE if you want to, if that was more beneficial to you, as long as you're still enrolled at DVC. If you take a year off or 2 years off of DVC and you come back in 2027, you don't maintain those catalog rights. You just start over again with Cal-GETC. I have one more slide about that, but feel free to jump in, Tao, if I'm simplifying it too much. So just to repeat, the Cal-GETC changes are that foreign language will no longer be required. There's going to be only 2 courses instead of 3 required from area arts and humanities, area 3. Public speaking is the only approved area of only approved course in the oral communications area, so not small group communications or argumentation and debate. And if you're going to use catalog rights to complete IGETC or CSUGE, instead of Cal-GETC, you can just ignore these changes. So just again, to talk about catalog rights, it means you have the right to complete the requirements that were outlined in the catalog at the time that you began enrollment, as long as you are continuously enrolled and you stay taking classes in our district at least once a year.
Right. And these slides are perfectly timed because we do actually have two questions that came through about this. So one question was, does this apply to students graduating / transferring this semester or only students entering fall 25? So as Christy has explained, it's primarily for students who are entering fall 25. So brand new students entering fall 25 have to follow Cal-GETC. But for any students that are currently enrolled at DVC, you have a choice to continue on with your current GE pattern. If you are graduating this semester or graduating this summer, Cal-GETC has not started yet. So you do not have a choice to choose Cal-GETC. You only have CSUGE and IGETC. That GE pattern has not begun. But if you continue on with us in the fall of 25, you will have a choice to choose between any of those GE patterns that best fits your needs. Now, it's important to meet with a counselor in the transfer center or in counseling to discuss to make sure which classes work best. There are some nuances to the transition and switching between GE patterns. But you do have a choice and you can definitely continue on with your current GE pattern or switch if you would like to. There was also a question about, can you mix and match? You do have to choose one single GE pattern. So you can't mix different areas between the two GE patterns. You do need to pick one. But the courses that you have on IGETC, for example, for the most part, will be able to be usable on Cal-GETC with the exception of some of those courses that Christy highlighted in, for example, the oral communications area that were removed. But otherwise, you want to stick with one GE pattern and you should be able to use most of your courses once you decide on which GE pattern you want to stick with.
The reason why you have to pick one is because at the end of your time at DVC, then you actually, if you've completed it, then you request certification. And so DVC Admissions and Records certifies it and they send it to where you're transferring. So they send it as a package, like this student has completed all of IGETC or this student has completed all of Cal-GETC. And so we certify it at the end of your time here. So ADTs, associate degrees for transfer. When is an ADT right for me? ADTs are a great thing. I love them. And they can be really beneficial for a lot of students. So an associate degree for transfer is an associate degree that is fully transferable to most CSUs, California State Universities. They are transferable to many historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs as well. They're transferable even to some private and fully online schools too. So we have agreements with private schools that accept associate degrees for transfer. If your transfer goals are primarily for CSUs or for these systems, then ADTs can help you streamline your education plan and earn an associate degree that you can list on your resume and that you can walk away with a degree from DVC. You can look at this website, adegreewithaguarantee.com, for more details about anything that I'm talking about. Associate degrees for transfer can sometimes be a little bit of a misnomer because for two reasons. So sometimes people think their goal is not to transfer, but they want to get an associate degree here. And in some areas, we only have an associate degree for transfer, like psychology is one. And so people think, well, if I get this associate degree for transfer, do I have to transfer? The answer is no. It's just the title. It was a title created with the state. You do not have to transfer if you're getting this degree. And the other reason it could be a misnomer sometimes is because Sometimes students might think that following the ADT means they're good to go to transfer anywhere, no matter what. And that is not the case either. So when might they not be a good fit? If any of these are true for you, ADTs might not be as beneficial, and really following assist.org for your major preparation is what's going to be the most critical. So in many areas, there is no associate degree for transfer that exists for your major. Like if you're a nursing student and you want to transfer to a BSN program, there is no associate degree in nursing. And so in that case, a lot of students might get our local degree, associate degree in allied health, and then we would use assist.org to plan your classes so that you're planning the right classes to transfer. Same with dental, same with engineering, same with architecture. An associate degree for transfer doesn't exist in those areas. We have local degrees for those areas, but that doesn't mean you can't transfer. We just use assist.org to plan the exact major classes that you need. Also, if your transfer goals are primarily for UC campuses, associate degrees for transfer can be great. You can earn them along the way, but just only following that is not going to guarantee you're meeting all the major requirements for UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego. We really, really need to use assist.org to check every single school you may apply to, just to be sure that you're completing all the major requirements for your goals. Also, if the major you want to apply at the CSU is not deemed similar to your CSU transfer degree, that's like a very technical thing, but basically there's a website where you can look up for your associate degree for transfer. If you're going to apply mostly to Cal State universities, does that university consider DVC's ADT to be a similar major? And so somewhere like Cal Poly is very picky. And so they don't consider a lot of degrees as similar to their major. And all that means is that we just need to use assist.org and additional websites to really be sure. Just completing the ADT is not enough. We need to use additional resources to be sure you're completing all the major requirements that they require to get accepted. So consult with a DVC counselor to see if earning an ADT makes sense for you and your pathway. In my experience, it makes sense for a lot of folks, even if they are transferring to UCs. Sometimes the ADT requirements can be aligned quite well for the UCs that they're going to, but we just really need to check assist.org and to be sure that we're planning for everything that you may need for your major. So here is assist.org. If you were in the room with me, I'd ask you to raise your hand if you have used this or seen this. Hopefully many of you have. It is where you go to look up all the major requirements for all of the universities that you may want to apply to, specifically UCs and CSUs. Anything coming up around this, Tao?
Well, so going back to your previous slide, there was a question about how all these changes will affect any of the AA requirements. And I think that also kind of goes back to your slides about catalog rights. So again, the catalog rights apply not only to general education, but also your associate degrees. And we are trying to ensure that there is as little disruption to your degree plans as possible. So just like how you have catalog rights to your GE, you also have catalog rights to your associate's degree. So your associate degree requirements are not changing. As for your associate degree for transfer requirements, we are updating the language on there to accept the new GE pattern as well. So that will be reflected in the new catalog. But if you are on you have catalog rights to our current catalog, you can still continue on and finish your degree as is. So you can continue your current associate degree for transfer using CSUGE or IGETC. And again, starting in the fall, once that catalog goes live, you can then transition over to the new catalog using Cal-GETC if you so choose. So hopefully that answers that question. Same also goes with our local associate degrees as well. And then there was also a question about whether or not we will be sending the Cal-GETC form. I know that we will be sending out materials, including a recording of this presentation. The difficult thing about Cal-GETC GE is that usually with these GE patterns, they go live at the new academic year. And we also have course review with the 4 years, which does not usually get finalized until the end of this academic year as well. And so it's difficult to provide you with finalized forms while all of that is pending. So our hope is to provide with some sort of draft form, but that draft form is going to be available in counseling where you can speak with us so that we can go over the nuances of why is this a draft form, what might be changing, what might be the same. But we will probably be able to send you at least something that gives you an outline of what will be changing in terms of the number of requirements and what courses for sure we know will not be on Cal-GETC. So you can expect to see that when we send out the materials. And let's see. Oh, and if you need to take a year off, is there a way to keep continuous enrollments, like a leave of absence form? As of right now, we'll have to get back to you on that. There might be an extenuating circumstance petition, but we'll have to, that's, I think, is a question we'll have to follow up on.
There might be, you can ask if you need to know sooner, you can ask in admissions and records, because anything like that would need to go through admissions and records. And folks just need one class with one mark. So it could even be a 1-unit class with a pass or even a W that maintains catalog rights. And I should have mentioned catalog rights strictly only apply to the institution that you are enrolled at. So they don't apply to assist.org requirements. The UCs have latitude to change their requirements every year if they want to for what they're asking applicants to complete. And so catalog rights strictly only apply to things that the institution you are at is going to be awarding to you. All right, Mark is going to tell us about new course numbers.
Okay, so starting in the fall, what the California community colleges are trying to do are make the very common courses like statistics, first year English, to have the same course number at all the schools in the California community college system. So when we reviewed transcripts from another community college in California, a lot of times they will have a different class number than we do. So for example, English 122 with us is often English 1A at other colleges. So now they're creating a system where English 122, the first year writing and reading, it will be English C1000 at every campus in the California community colleges. Same with statistics. Another college might be Math 43. Starting in the fall, it's going to be the same Stat C1000 at every community college. So if you do happen to switch community colleges in California, a lot of the general ed courses will have the same course numbers now. So it'll be easy to figure out if what you took at a different college will work at DVC, if they fulfill the same requirement. So it makes it easier for us as counselors looking at students' transcript from other colleges, but it'll also make it easier for students who transfer to a different community college to know that they have completed the same requirements as DVC requirements.
I know it's exciting.
Yeah.
And so it's something just to know that if you met with a counselor and maybe they planned Math 142 on your education plan, and now you're trying to search for fall and you don't see it, and it's saying no course, like no course available, just be sure to search. You could search the title statistics or the new exact code. So if you or your friends are getting that error message, no course available, just know that it may be because of this, and just search like the title that you're trying to find.
I have a question for Tal. Do you think if you've already taken these courses with the old course number, would it change on their transcript automatically?
No, so everything that a student has taken in the past has sort of just frozen in their record. So
Okay.
the changes are not retroactive, the changes are being made moving forward. So everything in the past will still show comms 120. It's just like any other subject or number change that we would have done if a department suddenly decided that they wanted to switch from one subject code to another. So it will be the old subject codes and numbers on transcripts. There is also a question in chat. I'm going to go ahead and just answer this one live. Um, does this course number also have same units in all of the community colleges? And the answer to that is actually no. So what's happening is all of the campuses are editing their existing courses. And as you have probably noticed, across the state, some of the campuses will vary. Some, for example, calculus courses might be 4 units, some of them might be 5 units. That's still going to remain the same. So you're going to see some variations in the courses as well as the articulation and maybe even the GE approval. So while going from campus to campus and using the requirements for associate degree for transfers, makes it a lot more simple. We can definitely look at this and say for sure, Stat C 1000 on an associate degree for transfer is going to be the same across the board. If you're looking for these courses specifically to meet a requirement for transfer at UC Davis, you want to still look up that specific campus on assist.org to make sure it has the same articulation agreement. If you're using it for GE approvals, all of these courses are very straightforward. They should all have the same GE approvals across the state. But as we move forward and roll out more common course numbering classes, there might be some variation in GE approvals. And so you want to be very careful when double checking what the approvals are for other courses at other campuses. We are working across the state with the 4 years to try to make it more uniform so that it's less confusing for everyone. But that is a work in progress at the moment. So um, in the catalog, everything looks the same, but behind the scenes, we still have to make sure that we're being diligent to double check everything.
Changing your major. How do I update my major? So changing your major, why does it matter? It helps DVC. So your declared major, what's listed on the InSite portal, helps DVC ensure course selection availability for future semesters. So we track how many business majors do we have, how many allied health, how many English majors, so that we make sure we're accounting for how many courses we need. So always go and check in InSite, and I'll show a QR code in a minute of how to make sure that your major is as updated as possible. Also, it helps you. So if your declared major is used for targeted, your declared major is used for targeted outreach we have counselor liaisons in every interest area. So if your major is listed correctly, then it'll be quick and easy for you to get updates from your counselors, and also for you to file for graduation when you're ready to graduate from DVC. And some of you may have looked at My Progress tool, which is in InSite. My Progress can be great. It can be helpful in some ways, but we always note there are exceptions to My Progress. Just be really careful with My Progress. It only shows how you're progressing toward an associate degree for transfer. And we already talked about how associate degrees for transfer don't prepare you for UC transfers, and they they are limited. And so my progress tool really is only looking at DVC certificates and DVC associate degrees. So just be real careful. If you're using my progress, please see a counselor so that you can check and make sure that everything's accurate. Also, my progress will never show AP scores you may have. They'll never show courses you may have taken outside of DVC. It only shows courses in our district that have been completed. So here's a QR code for you to scan and look at the directions of how to change your major. All the time students will come and ask me to change their major. I can't change anybody's major. You are in charge, and so you have to change your major in InSite portal, and you go right here to the graduation tile to change your major and be sure that it just accurately reflects what you're trying to go for. If you're not sure and you're like, well, the thing I want to transfer for is not really here at DVC, please see a counselor because we can help you pick the thing that will be closest, that has the closest major requirements to what you're going to complete anyway to transfer.
Can I also add, if you're doing a second major, so for example, business and economics are very close in requirements. So if you want to get a second degree, it also allows you to pick a secondary degree. Also, what else was I going to say? If you started your academic career at either Contra Costa or Los Medanos, but you transferred to DVC, your InSite account might still show that you are a CCC or Los Medanos student. So that's also where you can change your campus, primary campus, to DVC if you started at a different Contra Costa Community College campus. Also, we talked earlier about getting either IGETC or CSU certification. Or if you decide to do Cal-GETC, they'll ask you to get a certification. That's where you'll request certification for your general eds. As well as that's also where you'll apply for your associate's degree for transfer or your local degree.
And Christy, I'm not sure if we will be able to answer this question today, but there's a question about whether my progress will update in fall with the new course numbers.
Great question. Some of it is, it's still being built. So I don't know if I can answer 100% either. I bet it would have the new course numbers. But you would have to manually add. I think if you decide, oh, Cal-GETC is a better choice for me, I think you would have to manually add that Cal-GETC is the pathway that you're going to be following. Great question. When should I see a DVC counselor? Meeting with a counselor is so important to go over your individual education plan. We want to help you maximize your time here, make sure that you're taking the right classes to meet your goals, that you're not taking extra units you don't need. So if you haven't seen a counselor yet this semester, please come and drop in or schedule an appointment. So some ways to connect with counseling. If you have a quick question, we have same-day drop-ins every day, Monday to Friday. If you have a lot of questions, you should schedule an appointment, or especially if you have like transcripts from other colleges or a lot of AP scores, then schedule an appointment so that we can really be sure we're accounting for everything as we're making your education plan. Mark, did you want to talk about the transfer center drop-ins?
Yes. So currently in the spring semester, we have drop-ins from 10 a.m. to noon, and then from 2 to 4 p.m. In the fall, we have more extended hours. We're open 10 to 4, 10 a.m. all the way to 4 p.m. We usually have a secondary counselor during the fall because September is tag application season. November is UC and CSU application season. So we'll have more hours and more counselors there. So if you're not able to get a counseling appointment and you want to meet with a counselor to see which GE patterns might be best for you, come see us in the fall. We could just look at all the GEs you've taken already and figure out, you know what, you should stick with IGETC or you should switch to Cal-GETC. So again, and then when you're ready to transfer or start applying for transfer, we have a lot of workshops, drop-ins, campus visits and stuff like that. So get familiar with us at the Career and Transfer Center, and we can help you through the whole transfer process.
Yes, they are amazing. They do tons of workshops online and in person. They're great for answering all your transfer questions. Okay, so pop quiz. I'll go through these fast just to see how did it go today. Number one, if I was following IGETC or CSUGE and I continue to take courses at DVC, do I need to switch to Cal-GETC in the fall? Like, is it required that I switch to Cal-GETC in the fall? What do a few folks think? Maybe you can just type your answer in the Q&A box. All right, I'm seeing false. No, 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 no. Correct. Yeah, that is false. So you have the choice. If you keep taking classes at DVC, you can switch to Cal-GETC or you cannot. You have the choice. Great job. Number two, Mark.
I'm a nursing major, so should I follow the biology associate degree for transfer on InSite portal, my progress?
What do you all think? You're a nursing major. There is no nursing associate degree for transfer, so should you follow biology for transfer, which might sound similar? Would it complete all the things you need to transfer? I think I'm seeing no's. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. No, no, no. We want you to use assist.org, not just follow something that sounds close, because biology for transfer would be other classes that are not required for nursing. Number three, if I'm earning an associate degree for transfer, do I have to transfer? Is it required because it's in the title? What do folks think? No, yes, you got it. You do not have to transfer. It is just in the title. It's not a requirement, but the good thing is that if you've completed it, then you have completed a lot of requirements to transfer. So then if you change your mind, you do want to transfer, you're kind of set up pretty well. All right, Mark, number four.
Okay, if I'm on track to earn a non-ADT version of my major, for example, English, early childhood education, or business, do I need to now follow Cal-GETC?
I don't think we talked about this. So this, yeah, I see somebody answering. So we have local degrees where DVC general ed is what students follow for their general education. And yeah, you all got it in the chat. Thank you. Yeah, if you are following a local degree like English or early childhood or business, that's not for transfer, you also are not required to switch to Cal-GETC. You have a choice because you're a continuing student, you have catalog rights. Great job, 100%. Thank you, everybody. So, just wanted to finish again with how to come see a counselor if you'd like to. We also have a few more minutes if folks have questions that are still coming up around any of this. Cal-GETC, even anything you're wondering about, assist.org, transfer, the TAP program, TAP or TAG? There's many acronyms. And so I think I'll exit, stop sharing my screen. So I saw one question come through about the TAP program. And there's two different things called TAP. It's very confusing because there's lots of acronyms that are quite similar. So let me,
So TAP.
yeah, go for it.
So UC TAP is Transfer Admissions Planner. So that's the platform for the UC transfer application. So that's where you'll find the tag application, your UC transfer application. They also have important information about the PIQ. That's the essay part of the UC application. So I would uh, go on UC TAP, again, Transfer Admissions Planner, and I would create my account now and start looking around. And you can see, you could look at the questions that you might want to write about when you're ready to apply. And we will have PIQ workshops um, in the summer and fall. So if you're planning, especially if you are applying or if you want to apply to UC Berkeley or UCLA, which are very competitive, you have to write a really good PIQ. We have about 4 people now that are trained to help you with your PIQs. So you'll get all the information you need for UC transfer on UC TAP.
Oh, Mark, it looks like they did clarify that they wanted to know specifically about UCLA and Berkeley's TAP program. So not they like to use
Oh,
the same acronyms multiple times for
so
multiple.
those are, I believe, programs that you can become a part of, and you're part of a program that prepares you to be a solid applicant at UC Berkeley and UCLA. So they just give you some insight on how to become a more competitive candidate. It doesn't participating in those don't guarantee you acceptance to Berkeley and UCLA, but it can help you strengthen your application and improve your chances of getting into a competitive school like those two.
And unfortunately, UCLA's TAP program is only for select community colleges. It is a program designed to improve transfer pathways for community colleges that historically have had very low transfer rates. Because DVC has been very successful in the past, unfortunately, we do not qualify for UCLA's TAP program. So we are not a part of the TAP program because we do an incredible job at ensuring that you are all able to transfer.
Any other questions? Any other things folks are wondering about?
I don't see any other questions coming through.
Yeah. I think I'm going to suggest to our uh, career and transfer manager to prepare for fall when we might get a lot of Cal-GETC inquiries.
Thank you so much for attending, everyone. And as Tal said, we will send out the recording of this if you'd like to watch it again. And then we'll send out a version of the Cal-GETC preview because unfortunately the UCs don't officially approve everything, I think, until June. So anything that we send out is like a preview, unofficial, kind of a maybe bullet points of what the changes that we know that are going to be happening. And then in June is when it'll be really official. Is that right, Tao?
Yes, the date usually kind of floats. It really just depends on how quickly they can go through their reviews. We're hoping to get it sooner rather than later. But we are going to rush to try to get it as early as possible.
Thank you so much for attending, everyone. Share the info with your friends. It's not scary. It's all good. It's gonna be fine. Counselors are here for you. Career and Transfer is here for you. So thank you so much for being here.
Tal, I can't seem to find the IGETC or the CSUGE on our website anymore. Like I type it in the search and it just kind of takes me around, but I can't get the actual PDF.
Oh, I can show you where it is. You can find all of our GE sheets in the catalog. Um, so it is under
Ah, got it,
transfer degrees and certificates. So we do have all of our GE sheets listed there.
got it. Okay.
But those aren't the PDF versions, I know.
Well, anything's better than nothing. We still have like 20 people in here.
Mm, we do.
I'm going to give them a couple of minutes more to exit. It looks like they are. And then if not, I'll remove so we can debrief real quick, okay? Slowly.
Do you want to stop the recording?